4080. Industry rule number 4080. Record company people are shady. Industry rule number 4080. Record company people are shady.
But what made it, I'm not saying what made it easy, but what made the transition more seamless, if you will, was the fact that I knew music. Like, once I'm in the building, like, I hope everybody gets to experience this at some point in life, no matter what you're doing or who you're doing it with. I would love for everybody in life to experience they can basically close their eyes and float through whatever they're doing because they know it so well, right? What's that phrase? 10,000 hours makes you a perfectionist at what you're doing and makes you a genius at what you whatever that thing is, right? So I knew very clearly that since I was 7, when it came to music, I got to 10,000 hours. That was easy. That made it breathing for me, and I maximized that situation into I don't know what 10+ year career running around the music business. I guess to a certain extent. I don't count the numbers like that, but. And put some significant things out, and I'm happy that I was able to say. I'll say this. I've always said this phrase. I may not retire a Hall of Famer, but I was in the major leagues. I played for real and made a couple of all-star teams.
And it's crazy. All the years that I've known you and worked with you, I didn't know you read music, played the trumpet, and actually can read music. I don't read music. I play by ear. So we could have been helping each other so much that what I needed, I could have got from you, and we didn't even know it. You're coming to me for tracks. It's crazy.
Well, again, I don't profess to be a jack of all trades. I like to be real good at what I'm doing within that. I never wanted to be like a rapper, producer, engineer. I didn't want to do any of that. That's what I wanted to be. If I wanted to rap, I wanted to be a very good rapper. When I got into the executive thing, right, almost with blind, I just want to be a good executive. I just wanted to be the part, do the part, and do good things there. So. That's what that goes into it. So that's that story. So that was a good way to kind of ring things off. I was thinking about this on the ride in. I was thinking about how I listen to I can always say this. I've said this a few times. West Side Gun is my favorite rapper right now. From Griselda. West Side Gun is my favorite rapper. So one of the things I appreciate about West Side Gun.
If I could just interrupt you.
Yeah.
Because you mentioned the jack of all trades, master of none thing. I came across someone who posted that quote is incomplete. The full quote is, a jack of all trades is a master of none, but oftentimes better than a master of one.
But oftentimes better than a master of one. So that speaks to, being able to have multiple areas of which you can contribute and be a value add within the situation, right? So let's keep the music going. So if you're in the studio, right, and you're looking to get a certain melody, and you know how producers work. Producers, when they have a creative lashing, they're in that direction. And literally what has to happen is that you actually have to play it for them and say, no, do this. Because what they see is what they're going to achieve to a certain extent in their musical head. So you have to say, no, play this. So within that jack of all trades thing, I would be able to say, no, play this chord.
No, we can the chord. Yeah.
I say, it's here. They're like, oh, yeah, it's here. And then go here. Wow. Now, can I sit there and then play Beethoven after that? Hell no. But I can't say go here and here, right? So that part is good. But I want to get back to what I thought about when I was coming, because I thought about you a lot on this one. So going back to West Side Gun being my favorite rapper, today, I was saying that the way that he articulates and the way that he rhymes, and because they're so successful, we've absolutely closed the door on mumble rap. There's mumble rap no longer is a viable entity. You have to speak with some sense of clarity and some sense of understanding at this point. Now, I remember a few years back, oh my God, you went on a tirade. You were very unhappy. And you had a very strong stance of how you felt about where hip hop was going at the time with mumble rappers. Yeah. So that came to mind when I thought about West Side Gun, and I said I'd bring it up to you when we saw each other today.
See, I try to get an understanding, because you have these younger people that try to make you think that you're older and you had your time, and this is our time, and this is our music, and and I'm like, what do you mean? This is still my time. Like, I've lived the eras, all the eras. So all of this, I listen to Kendrick Lamar and J. Cole, which is now. I just don't listen to what you listen to. So don't say I'm still with the time. It's just that for me, when I sit down and listen to the stuff my daughters and stepdaughters listen to, a lot of it disgusts me. I'm not going to mention names and who they are, because being in the business so long and, being around people like Kenyatta and being into it and collecting music and rapping and being a part of the culture, I know what's good and what's bad and what's bull and what's, the difference. So you can't try to get in my head and tell me, well, you're older and this music is what's happening now because it's our time. From the 70s to the 80s to the 90s to every era, and I'm still here. So don't act like I just popped up now. You know what I'm saying? I'm living proof of what is great and what's not great. I have the right to say it because I know the difference. I've heard it all. Like I said, I told this young cat, I forgot more stuff than you ever learned and you can ever know. I forgot. I can name groups that came and left. You don't even know who they are. That's some of the samples you're using. Like, you can't have a debate with me without having that kind of knowledge to know. But one kid in the barbershop said, yeah, but when I was in school, to me, Wu-Tang is old school. I said, listen, bro, I got what you're saying, but you still need to go back further. Like, I was 12 years old when hip hop was at the very beginning. You got to go back and you got to know your history. You can't just take it from there. You got to go back and to have this kind of conversation, you need to say, well, I remember Hollywood and Eddie Chiba and these and all these MCs. You got to know these people. You know what I mean? Because then you're just kind of like, you're not respecting the craft which you are in. And these people paved the way for you. They're the ones who built those steps. That they didn't get paid the big checks and the money and driving the Lamborghinis, that now you're walking on those steps. And now you're bigger than life, but they paved the way for you.
I'm overcharging for what you did to the Cold Crush.
Overcharging, exactly. So this is the problem I have with a lot of the youth and what they think and how they flow and what they're doing. And it's hard for me. I'm not going to go on too long of a rant, but it's hard for me to listen to a person like Rakim and to throw on something that my daughter's listening to. And the jumble and the slow, crazy, slowing and robot. Everybody's rhyming through the robot, through the vocoder. It's called a vocoder. Jay-Z said auto-tune. It's called a vocoder. So they all changed it to auto-tune. Okay, so my thing is that, how do I know how your voice is if it's in the vocoder or if you're singing through it? Like, use it a little bit in and out of it. So I'm disgusted with this game that I hear a whole song. Yeah,
it's so not fair.
I'm just,
you actually have to have talent
to utilize
to use a vocal. Right. You have to play the notes.
Right.
That
you're singing.
You're singing.
That is extremely difficult.
Right. Right. Yeah. Isn't that right, Teddy Riley? Isn't that right? Who am I
Roger
missing?
Troutman.
Roger Troutman.
Exactly.
So here's the thing. Here's the thing that I won't say I get upset about. We had a previous, and this is somewhere in the archives, we spoke about cutting corners. Right. And one of the things that's pretty much tough about hip hop is that it allows you to cut corners because the talent only comes from here. And how you speak and how you say things or how you make things. Right? Over time, there becomes an art form. And like for example, thank you, the Bob Powers of the world. Thank you for making an art form of mixing records. Thank you, Tony Dorsey, for making an art form of mastering records. Thank you, DJ Premier and Dr. Dre and all the producers who I'm not mentioning, Swiss and Timberland, for making this an art form to producing. Before then, it was just, if I yell the loudest or scream the loudest or know somebody that's cool, I'm in the game. Now, I didn't go to school for music. You didn't go to school for music. Somebody else in this room definitely is going to school for music. And when it comes down to it, it's no different than you wanting to be a doctor or wanting to be a lawyer. You have to study some things here. You can't just say, I'm going to start cutting up people. You can't just say, I'm going to start representing people.
Cutting up people.
Okay? But in hip-hop, people say, well, I just do this hip-hop thing. Oh, no, you don't.
Disrespectful.
Oh, no, you don't. Okay? And now that we have 50 years of it, right? Starting at 76, so 70, right? If we call it 75, 76, if we're Eddie Cheever, right? If we go 75, 76, 86, 96, 0. So when we get to 2026, we'll be half a century of hip hop. That means that we'll be right 50 years, right, and we'll be able to have the same conversation that our parents will have in reference to what they feel about R&B, right? Because R&B is birthed from rock and roll, right? So our parents were there at the birth of R&B when things happened to now. So when they sit back and, like I said before, they hate Rick James because Rick James is too damn nasty. They want to hear the Flamingos. I only have eyes for you. To them that's R&B. Okay,
Sam Cooke.
Yeah, that type of stuff. So I just impress upon anybody who's watching this podcast, or anybody that's youthful, that's doing their thing in the industry, or anybody that has an opinion and a radio, because that's all you require to say you want to be a part of the music business. Please just care to do some studying and do some archival studying. So I'm not going to sit back here and say you need to know, who the Funk Brothers are. That might be a little bit too far for you. Okay, but can you at least appreciate the fact that if you're listening to radio right now and you call yourselves, well, I'm a 90s baby, because we've gone back to loving the 90s because, quote, that was the second golden age of hip hop. Well, can you care to recognize and respect where these things are coming from? So if you're a 90s baby, you ready? And you like Total Can't You See? Can you care? Can you at least care to know that the Big Payback's a part of that equation? And know who made that record? Can you care to know what that is?
I totally agree with you. They don't care. They don't care. They don't care.
That's all I'm asking.
Most don't care.
Right? Can you that for me would make the validity of the argument of what they want to make have some legs. So that's what we was forced to do. We were forced. Even when we did the hip hop thing, we grew up in a household of education and learning. Because everybody here has parents that has, you ready, E? That either has cabinets of albums, right?
Absolutely.
Or they got the spool spoke this big of the 45s and had to do something like this at one point in time.
Drop the needle.
To listen to music. I remember when I was little, my first education was my mama's house parties. She would have the uncles and the cousins over and stuff like that, and they too busy drinking and dancing. They ain't got time to change the records. So that was my job.
No, but then you had the spindle thing that would drop after the end. They came over and dropped the plate the next song.
I had to set that up though. Okay, and I had to be smart enough to know the moods. But remember, we're not mixing. I'm the mixer, and this is how I got to stay up late on a Friday. You follow me? I'm mixing. So it'd be funk time, and they'd be like, oh, Kenyatta, put on that One Nation Under a Groove. What's that other Parliament record that they got? And then then play that one. Yeah, and then it get later. Then it get later. And it's Ozzy Brother time. Well, play that one and play that. And I have to be like a DJ. I gotta be on time. I can't have the floor quiet for 2 minutes. I'm in trouble. Less than 20 seconds. And I'm doing this. But I hand it to you with this statement. But that was my introduction to music education. And still learning the craft of how to deal with it. How to put the needle on. You need a penny. You need a nickel, right, for the weight. Make sure there's a scratch. All that you had to learn. I'm doing this at 7. Okay, what you
but see,
say?
the thing that's so different, when my mother used to play, I loved her music. And when she was in home, I would play the songs. I would play certain records. And I remember being home now. Now I have children and stepchildren. And I start playing my music. Instead of them listening and embrace it, they'll go in the room and start blasting their music. I would never do that with my mom. And then here's another thing. I know we're living in a different era and a different time. That's actually
funny.
I know we're living in a different era and a different time, but I would never, when my mom was alive, play records that had extensive cursing. Never. I feel it's disrespectful. I would never play the kind of stuff that they play around us and think it's okay. Around their children, around the babies. I have a problem with that.
Okay, so I have full disclosure. Okay, we do have to because our generation, not our generation, we have to bring this to light because people forget this. Okay, when the pro-black movement happened in hip hop. Okay? Once Public Enemy, motherfucking man, John Wayne, okay? And fuck the police.
Well, that was
I'm saying, but an Ice Cube,
and
okay?
the Cali,
and the Ghetto Boys, whatever. I'm just saying that roundabout era, our parents were just as mad at us as we were mad at the kids then. Because we were bucking authority. And hold on. Now we bucking authority. We smoking weed. Okay? We look straight. I'm telling you from perception.
No, I'm just telling you, I would never play
I'm
that.
I'm not saying you. I'm
never,
not saying
never.
Okay, so full disclosure.
Never play
full disclosure, not you. What I'm saying is, but our generation had just as much rebellion in us and what we were playing as we speak about the ones below us that are doing it now. Because when not saying your household, okay, but whatever household, Public Enemy, okay, who's in Chuck D's not cursing and yelling, but what he is saying is he's basically saying you ain't gotta listen to that. You can do this over here, and you'll be okay. And our family is like, that's not really the right way to do things. You can't follow this guy. You might get in trouble here. Okay, so I'm not discounting the point of what our kids are doing. I'm just saying that we had our own rebellious mode because we kind of glass over that as if that did not happen. That very much did happen.
It's a lot worse nowadays, though, with the disrespect.
So here's where
lyrics
ready to laugh.
Way over the top.
Ready to laugh.
Disrespectful.
You ready to laugh? Here's where the kids may think you're old, because you said the phrase that every parent says. It's much worse now. It's much worse now. Okay, that's what every generation says. It's much worse now. I go back to the Rick James thing, because Rick James for his day would have raunchy love lyrics compared to Smokey Robinson, and then would have, respectful love lyrics. And then our parents say, it's just gone too far. It's just gone too far. With that and the weed smoking, it's just gone too far. So that's where the you might be older thing comes in, because that's what every generation says. Everyone back in the day, as soon as you say back in the day, oh Lord, you just walk down that path.
You know what I think also though, and I'm not sitting here saying I'm an angel and all this other stuff. I just think I'm a different kind of person when it comes to what I cater to, what I listen to, what I share, the way I would be around my children, what I would play and not play. And I expect them to kind of get that from me and be the same way, and they're not. So for me, I'm always concerned with what you're hearing as a kid, because they're a sponge. They soak it up, they suck it up. And the same way the hip hop is in our ear and we love it and we live it, they do too. They claim they don't, but they do. So to me, it's important what you play around the youth and what you portray. I'm not saying you sugarcoat everything, because I had a debate with my stepdaughter. Well, I'm not going to keep her sheltered. She needs to know this exists. And then, yeah, but that's not. You need to also feed her all the time.
So
or feed the children all the time. They need to know there's a bad side, but I don't need to every day take them over to the bad side so they can see how bad it is.
So that point, I'll live with you there. Every day, don't take them to the bad side. I'll totally agree with you there. I'll add one small piece of context, and then I had something else I want to share with you. But remember as well, too, as much as you shelter them, they still go and find it. Because, ready? That's what we did. Okay.
Don't act like you didn't have one Eddie Murphy Delirious.
Right.
Oh, no question.
Right. No
question.
Been listening to it.
No question.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. And then when you heard that Eddie was motivated by Richard Pryor, you went right. You kept going further back, and then you heard that. And you know who's even raunchier than Richard Pryor? Red Fox.
Flip Wilson and all them. Yeah.
And I'm sorry if I got so far out of context that your younger ones say, "Who is Red Fox?" But but with that being the case, that's how that plays out. But you're right. I'll land here. Yes, they'll get it, but don't give it to them all the time, every day, because that can't be healthy.
That's a lot of what this music is now, and that's a lot of what I hear every day, all through every car in Harlem, blasting across the street, through the blocks, everywhere I walk. That's what I hear.
Okay,
you know what I mean. And
I'll give the kids a little. Again, I'll give this generation a little bit more credit, but I want to transition into something that I want to ask you. And this is off topic. This is not even on our agenda.
Okay.
What is your stance that R. Kelly has been taken off of YouTube and Vivo, and basically every platform outside if you choose to stream it yourself. What is your thoughts?
A whole nother
yeah, what is your thought? You know, I'm saying it because it's relevant. It's what's happened is that happened this week. Last week he got convicted. This week, YouTube said they're pulling his channels from
right
online.
in Brooklyn. I know.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, because I've had this discussion several times with different people, and it's a tough one because do you take the music and separate it from the man, or do you combine it and make it kind of how you listen or what you do? As far as, you know, being a fan is one thing. Like, do you get into that person's personal life of what's going on with them, or do you say, forget that, the music is great and I love the music? And that's always been my thing. How do you do it? Because he's one of the greatest artists, producers of our generation. He, without a doubt, him and what Houston's going, I would say those. But
no,
how do you?
R. Kelly, respectfully, accusations and convictions aside, is the voice of R&B for a generation and a half, and he now is being told you no longer exist.
Yes.
So remember what was my example before? If this doesn't happen, hip hop doesn't happen. You kind of have taken a big hole out of the R&B historical timeline by what are you doing here? By canceling the culture on R. Kelly.
So there's no more Step in the Name of Love at a wedding?
No more I Believe I Can Fly graduations.
But yeah, so it's for me, it's like, do you separate the man from the lifestyle, from the life? Do you say was crazy and he was weird, but the music is so great, and still listen to the music? Like, I don't know.
So now let's do an extension of it, right? All of the I'll use a movie to walk the point. We watched Ray. We all saw Ray. Okay. Before we saw Ray, we had an impression about Ray Charles, didn't we? After we saw Ray, we had a different impression about Ray Charles.
Yeah.
Ray Charles wasn't. although his music had gospel, you know, he basically bridged the gospel to R&B bridge of using that chord dynamic and structure to make it, you know, more accessible for everybody else, right? But behind the scenes, this guy wasn't
something else,
right? And then he ran with, you know, and then, you know, Chuck Berry got arrested for bringing underage kids across state lines. You don't know Chuck Berry don't have rock and roll. I'm saying that the more talented they are, you know how current day guy is. Who's that?
Current day artist you're talking about?
Who's that guy? Like, he's so smart that he's almost borderline not okay, and we wonder about him because they do weird things. It's Kanye.
Oh, absolutely.
But I'm saying, but the flip side is that you get the music that you get. You see what I'm saying? The flip side of the quote what you respect and love, or the quote borderline genius, is that they're off. You see what I mean? Like, they're so good at like, for example, it's easy to say respectfully, and I hope I'm saying this the right way, that Kanye, and I'll let you help me out with this, Kanye may have some social adjustment issues of that's being around people in general.
A lot of people believe that it happened when his mom passed.
Okay, so even with
Kardashian that did it.
So even within then, let's do that. All right, and for the record, he may not remember, but I've met Kanye. I've had meetings with Kanye, so I have no issue with Kanye West. But for him to make Jesus Walks, and for him to make 808 and Heartbreaks, then there's the other thing of, well, I'm not going to leave I'm not going to leave the stadium in Atlanta until my album's finished. Like, what the hell is wrong with him? That's the flip side. That's what you get. That's the flip side of what it is. You see what I'm saying? And at least it's not hurting anybody. At least as far as we know.
Right.
But when you have artists like R. Kelly or
Michael Jackson, that's a whole nother thing too. Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson, Prince. I'm gonna give you one that we said, I hope he doesn't go there. And before he went there, Andre 3000. When Outkast got real big, he became a different Andre. He wasn't just making rap records no more. He's a little bit of a personality that he thought he was kind of eccentric. They all kind of go there as a trade-off of you being appreciative of their talent. And almost the ones that aren't huge, right, are the ones that are more normal.
But like, for instance, Michael Jackson and all of the allegations and all that, and I feel a lot of stuff is not true. Everybody, he never had a childhood. He just loved children. I don't feel he molested or touched anyone. That's just what I feel. I felt at the time he had buku money, and one saw somebody probably get hush money and they wanted money, and it could be so many different things. Did I stop listening to? I can't stop listening to Michael Jackson. I mean, I'm not gonna say, because they said he did. I can't. R. Kelly, we know he did it. So do you stop listening to him? And that's kind of a question I don't know.
Right,
I don't have an answer for.
So let's take a poll. Let's take a poll.
Can I ask one more question? Because Sebastian Cole, shout outs to him. He had posted something on Facebook that I thought was brilliant. Right? A point that people are missing.
Mm-hmm.
Are we not listening to R. Kelly because we don't want him to financially benefit from the fact that these things are moving? Because if that's the case, he's not making money off the music. He doesn't own it.
Right. Right. And he had to do what he had to do financially to be in a position to stabilize what he has to deal with now. So, for example, to sell some of his catalog, to just have finances to pay for legal fees and stuff like that. But let me ask you, but a quick question. I do my snapshot question. Lou, quick question.
Go.
Are R. Kelly records in your playlist?
I have never been an R. Kelly fan that way.
Really?
So you don't have any R. Kelly records in your playlist?
I do.
Okay, that's a quick question.
Not in my playlist.
Okay.
In my library, sure.
R. Kelly records in your playlist?
I have them in my iPod, and my favorite is The Chocolate Factory. The favorite album ever. Even though the first it's forever classic.
Right.
Even the second, but my favorite album is Chocolate Factory.
And I will say, and this is not a pro R. Kelly or anti R. Kelly. This is a pro music thing. There are great music that I'm listening to, and some of them have the name R. Kelly next to them. Just like I have other people who have done wrong things. Like I'm 1,000% sure. Oh, here we go. Okay, here we go. James Brown beat women. I got James Brown records. Okay? I'm 1,000% sure that Prince pushed an envelope in ways that people keep quiet about, that nobody's saying anything.
Never proven.
But we don't stop playing Diamonds and Pearls.
Yeah.
I'm not defending Robert Sylvester Kelly. I'm defending the craft of music being good music is good music is good music. We're going to listen to good music.
Right.
And with that being the case, there's now a place to move from that.
Yeah.
Segues into this question. And I want Lou to chime on this one as well, too. Tell me a record or two, and try to be as obscure as you want. I want you to surprise people that influenced you in a way, not that you liked the record. I want a record that you didn't think you would like, and when it came out, you said, oh, wow, not only do I like it, it influences me to think differently.
Over the past.
Period.
Over the.
Period. I don't want you to have a surprise always. Like I want you to say like I didn't know Kids the Mall was going to be great, and then I heard it Pimp a Butterfly and I love them. No, that's an obvious answer. I want you to hit. Maybe I should start. I remember at the heyday of everybody loving Run DMC. All right, we talking rock box times.
Rock box.
Okay, rock box. I remember going to play basketball one day and yelling and screaming out loud and say, yo, as I'm talking about people hip hop, have you heard this record called Superstar by Luther Vandross? And he's like, what are you talking about? I said, this thing starts with strings. It does this. And I'm talking about everybody that's like, what are you talking about? Yo, I'm telling you right now. You play this song for your girl right now, so I've been thinking about you. This is going to change everything. Superstar by Luther Vandross is one of my first records where I was like, yo, I'm thinking completely differently about what's happening musically and how I should look at things and pay attention to things. I'll give that as the starting example.
It's you're going to laugh. Nat Adderley is this music director.
Yes, of course.
That is the reason I started playing piano.
Nat Adderley.
To learn how to play
like Nat Adderley.
That piano intro.
The intro to Superstar.
Wow.
Now, and
I bought the music down at Sam Ash in the city, the Luther Vandross book, and I learned how to play that record.
And and now I'm gonna help out a little bit. I like to do baby context things. That's Nat Adderley Jr., by the way, because his father's Nat Adderley Sr., who's one of the most famous jazz musicians of all time. Right, so that's Dad's record collection.
Superstar.
That's a record for me. No, you have one. You have one.
Like for me, it'd be like A Door. Like was one of those songs, but I wouldn't say that's so obscure and so.
A Door by Prince.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I have to make sure.
One of the songs.
We got so many records from that.
But we can name.
I don't want you. We can name
many, but I'm trying to see that affected me.
I don't want you to name many.
Totally affected me, and I think that kind of reshaped.
I remember where I was. See, what I'm talking about is that I heard this record the night before. Right? This is when, I'm a date myself. This is when you would record slow jams at night, and you would hope to hear the record on the Quiet Storm, so you could play it and press record immediately, so you could have the record on cassette tape. Okay? So I would never have the intro to the strings, Lou. I would only have Tell Your Baby. And Lou, what I'm talking about, because that's the time it took me to get to the recording. Press play. Yeah. That was that thing, right? I had the same Radio Lou. I had the same problem with Forever for Always for Love. Same issue, right? Anybody who's recorded slow jams knows exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, but I remember that there was two girls that I like, and I'm not giving them credit to give their names. Okay, and I went to go play basketball the next day, and I'm singing this song in my head the whole time while I'm going to play basketball, as I'm hearing Run DMC and Houdini play, and you know what I'm saying, everywhere I go. And I'm like, nah, man, what about this Luther song? What about this Luther song that's in my head? I remember when I was going. So you have one. It's not the record that you fall in love with music. It's the record that, you know, when you said, I need to be thinking differently. Just like you said, Louis, that made you all of a sudden sheet music's in your head. Yeah. When you hear stuff like that, that changes things.
That said, it's hard for me to even come up with that. There's so many songs, man.
It's not so many songs.
It put me in a place.
There's not so many songs. This is like
great song. A lot of great songs like that. That put you in a place. That revolutionized.
That might be the most obvious statement in the history of statements. I'm saying it like the same, like this. I'm trying to give you a feeling. If you were a Nike guy, the first time you had your Air Force Ones, you knew where you were. If you were a Puma guy, you knew where you were when you had your first pair of suede Pumas. When you put them on and you rolled up your socks on the inside to make sure they fit a certain way, you remember the impact that footwear had on you after that point in time. If you wore shell toe Adidas and you did the same sock trick as you did with the Pumas, but you had to do it curl up a little bit more on the shell toes, you remember how you felt about how the sneakers look on your feet, and you felt about footwear after that. There is a musical impasse where that point in time happened. It may be a movie. I remember, I'll give you another one for me. I remember the first time I saw Claudine. And I heard the song when she was, not Mr. Welfare, because Mr. Welfare was a big one for me. But the song when they had the party and Rupe ain't show up, they was getting in the kitchen. And I have this album, and I play that song. It's called Live Your Life, I think. Okay.
I have a song when I was a kid.
There you go. That's what I'm looking for.
When I was a kid.
You see, I'm giving you examples.
We moved from Alabama. We were living in White Plains, New York. And I love this record. And it's no lyrics. I love the record so much, my mother went out and bought it for me. Trans-Europe Express.
There you go. That's a good one.
That was my joint.
That's a good one.
It was something about that.
That's a good one.
That just, the sounds, the music, the chord progressions.
That's like the yin to the yang of Moments in Love.
Oh, yeah, classic.
That's like the yin and the yang. Like those two records are like 8 minutes apiece. You can play them back to back. And if you're in a club, you can go to the bathroom.
Another one was Genius of Love.
Okay.
By the Tom Tom
You can't be spinning them out that fast. You have to impact you. If you want the respect of the impact, you can't spit them out rapid fire because that means it didn't impact you. That means it didn't impact you like that.
Genius of Love Tom Tom Club was another record that when I heard it, I went nuts. And my mom, you got to get me this record because I was too young to buy records. I didn't have a job, and she bought the record for me, and I would play it all the time. And of course, Dr. Jekyll, R.I.P. Andre, they did their rap version to it. With AMPM and Genius of Rap it was called. They rapped over Genius of Rap. And I noticed for me, the two songs I mentioned really they weren't really songs. They were more instrumentals. Even though Genius of Love had a little bit of singing, it wasn't really like a lead singer taking it was something
I got more to the music. When you get out of jail? I'm gonna have some fun.
So those were songs that kind of they impact me. It was an impact on how I, react and listen to. I would go crazy when I heard those.
Those
songs.
are two good records. Trans-Europe Express is a great call because nobody who's watching this thought he was going to hear that when they logged in today. That's a good answer. What you got, Lou?
So segue. Damn, I can't remember the name of the group now, but Tommy Mottola.
Dr. Buzz's Savannah Band.
Savannah Band.
Now, when you did Shay Shay La Ghost, was that record in your head?
Yes.
In terms of impact, why don't you?
Yes.
Very creative. I was very creative.
Yes.
I didn't think people got that how they should. It was very creative to use that. That's a very different type of song, number one. That style of that song is kind of like, it's not your average R&B song.
And one of the better showings from You Got.
Yes.
Like,
so,
I believe You Got after
okay,
that.
so should I share this story? Should I share this story today? I think I want to wait.
Do it on the next podcast.
I think I might want to wait. But
how much time are we in?
let me go back to Dr. Buzz's Savannah Band, all right? Because what a lot of people don't realize, and I wish I could know her name. I might look her name up. First of all, the lead singer for Dr. Buzz's Savannah Band, whose name I'm going to find, and I'm going to look it up, although I said I wouldn't look stuff up. She has one of the most purest, sultrous tonalities in a vocal I've ever heard in my life. Like, she's a person that you can hear sing all day and you would not say stop singing. It's a very natural, purest tone of voice. Now, what a lot of people don't know, one of the reasons why Tommy Mottola is, quote, Tommy Mottola, is because people don't know this. Tommy Mottola is the first person, quote, in the music industry to get a production deal. To walk into a label and say, I have groups and I'll put the project together and y'all put it out and we'll make it happen. A lot of people think that, okay, so I'll say this to you, as I say in the old pop quiz hot shot. He had two groups. One of them was Dr. Buzz's Savannah Band. You know what the other group was?
Was it the whatever orchestra, that group?
I'll share it. Lou, you want to take a guess?
No.
Hall & Oates.
Really?
Oh.
Okay.
Hall & Oates and Dr. Buzz's Savannah Band were his groups.
Okay.
And that was his production deal.
They say so ahead, man.
Okay? Think about that out loud and then say, how is that for a springboard to be a mogul and say, this guy knows a lot. Now, the other reason, and take a step back because we've all been dealing with music now, Hall & Oates are Blue-Eyed Soul, and I want to say from Philadelphia if I remember correctly. I think they're from Philadelphia. Okay? Dr. Buzz's Savannah Band is two Wu-Tang clans as a group.
They were all
that you have to manage. And take
how many of them was
and take two Wu-Tang clans. and take,
15, 20 of them?
Whatchamacallit was in the group? What's the rap guy? Kid Creole.
Really?
Kid Creole.
Was in that Dr. Buzz?
I remember he sent me a thank you letter personally after I did Ghost Showers because I sampled them twice and they were getting publishing checks. I think I'm going to save the Shay Shay La Ghost story until we have 1,000+ people following us.
Okay.
Then I'm going to share that story because that's a great story. And it has long legs of why to this day there's a respect I have for them and I've earned their respect because those that know, Wu-Tang was about we getting our paper, we doing what I'm doing, and we don't like you, we got a problem with you. And I had to earn their respect, and there's a lot that goes along with that as well. So we'll take it from there.